Cocktail Conversations, candid insights from startup founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders from around the globe.
I'm Bill Swislow. I am CIO and Senior Vice President of Product at Cars.com, which means I oversee the creation, development of the Cars.com website, the products we sell to advertisers, the customer experience, and the technology that underlies it, the editorial organization. We review a lot of cars every year, so that all kind of rolls up into my organization. So I've been with Cars.com since the beginning. We were founded, we started the effort about almost 15 years ago in 1997, and I've been there ever since, overseeing the website from the very start, but over the years, you stick around a place long enough and the stuff just keeps piling up. I was at the Chicago Tribune, which is one of the founding partners of Cars.com. I had built a real estate site there, an employment site, and an automotive site. So we kind of had a model of what the consumer product might look like, but we really didn't have any model for what it would look like nationally. We didn't have a sales model for the product. We didn't have a real marketing concept beyond using the newspapers, who were the owners of the business, to use their print assets to try to push us, and that somehow we'd integrate with their online properties as well. But so a lot of the challenge was kind of figuring out how all that other stuff was going to work. And then, but my core challenge was actually trying to build a website, and a website that could scale nationally. Finding resources in Chicago in 1997 who really knew their way around the internet was quite hard. Not just technical resources, but even things like designers. I think the first designer I hired, I looked about a year before I found that person. I could find print people who were interested online, but finding anyone with online design experience, because there's really only about a year or two of experience to be had. So that was very hard. Today, when you work with contractors and vendors, you can find ones who have deep experience in our space, but then they were all just kind of figuring things out. So it was fun, but it was a lot of seat of the pants, very little process. Just try to pull something together and hit a launch date, which we of course missed by about 6 months. The most memorable thing was we were going to have a meeting with the vendor we had engaged to build the website. It was the day after the site was supposed to launch. You already know it didn't launch on time. There was myself and a couple of pretty senior vice presidents from Tribune standing outside the door in Wicker Park of the vendor, and they weren't there. They blew us off, and they knew there was a meeting, but it was so uncomfortable. I will not, for this purpose, tell you who the vendor was. They don't exist anymore. That was quite memorable. I would say from the point of view of the website, where we are today is pretty in line with the vision. But it's sort of an embarrassing joke inside the company, but there's still a couple items that were on the first roadmap that we still haven't developed, but we are working on them. They would have been visionary in 1997, but we're a little late. The basic framework of the product and what we do on the website side has not changed much. Now on the business side, like so many startups, it was not what we expected. There were, things I guess you could call pivots, although maybe that may be over dramatizing them. But a good example of that is when we started, well, two things. It was really unclear in 1997 whether the winning brand in a vertical business like automotive, where we play, would be a local brand or a national brand. Because historically, when people wanted to find cars for sale, they would go to the newspaper. They wouldn't go to, for the most part, to a national brand. We also thought that the newspapers would be driving tremendous amount of traffic to our site through their promotion and the use of, and all the people who were already starting to go to the newspaper.com sites. And it turned out we were a national brand, that the local brands brought very little to the table, which also meant that over the years, the amount of traffic we got from our local newspaper sites was never what we thought it would be. And so we really had to change our marketing strategy and invest more aggressively earlier than we thought we would in creating a national footprint, because while we are owned by big newspaper companies that have properties in many cities, and those were cities we could launch in on the strength of the newspaper presence, we also did not have newspapers in many cities. So in a place like Atlanta, Salt Lake City, Pittsburgh. We had no local presence, so we basically had to build one, and that's sort of a pull yourself by your own bootstraps effort. So we learned a lot about, we really had to change our view on how we would market ourselves. And frankly, the technology challenges proved a lot harder than we thought they would be at the beginning. Partly as a function of our own weakness, our own lack of technology expertise in-house. Whether you're a startup or relatively mature, and of course we're still only 15 years old, I think all the concepts that sort of roll around, whether they're under the agile framework or lean startup type stuff, is to be extremely focused on your customers, but of course based on really deeply understanding what they need, not just what they say they want, and maintaining that customer centricity and really being clear on who your customers are. And the one thing I would say that has served us very well is our revenue stream is 99% from advertisers, mostly car dealers and some from automakers. Yet the people who use our site are overwhelmingly consumers who don't always have the best of feelings about car dealers. So it's an interesting dynamic there, but we have been clear from the very start and have held very closely to the view that our primary goal is to serve the audience of consumers and to do a really great job helping consumers who are shopping for a car, on the belief that if we do that, everyone wins, because what both consumers and dealers want is for the consumer to buy a car. So if we help the consumer first and foremost make that choice, and it's a fraught choice for many people, we're serving our advertisers well, and they will be happy to buy our advertising and reach that audience. So that idea of being very clear on who your customers are, how if you have more than one customer group like we do, how they relate to each other, and not always going for the lowest common denominator or the low road, the fastest way between 2 points. We have competitors who are very much focused on getting the most money they can from the advertisers at the cost of the users of their site. And we just don't believe that that's the best model for anyone. We don't think it's the most sustainable one, and we don't think it's the most profitable one in the long run.